welcome to another episode. I'm so excited that you're here. If this is the first time you're listening, hi, my name is Paige. I am a holistic life coach. But more than that, I'm just a human being traveling abroad and decided to pack up all my belongings and do this trip around Western Europe specifically right now. But we'll see where Paige goes. We'll see what happens. But along the way, I've learned multiple lessons. And that's what this is about. It is to really check in with my own mental health and kind of process that with you of, hey, here are the things that are forever a memory. They're forever going to be tools in my toolkit. And I want to pass it along because I'm not about to just keep all these golden nuggets to myself. I want to share it along with you and help you process and make sure that you are living your life in according to your values and aligned with the things that you want to do. Whether that means you also want to travel the world, or you want to buy a house, you want to get married, you want to do all these things, fucking go for it. I'm just here sharing my lessons with you and can't wait for you to be a part of this journey with me. So, the last episode I shared that my jewelry was lost upon traveling, which happens, but I was in the Lake District in England. And so I took a train, not too long, it was maybe a couple hours, to Edinburgh, Scotland. And that's what this episode is about. Part 1 is some of the lessons and adventures that happened in Scotland. So right when I arrived in Edinburgh, which by the way, I was ridiculed with how I pronounce it because I was saying Edinburgh for ever. But someone corrected me very quickly. So I was like, okay, my bad. And when I got there, it gave me just a really familiar vibes of, I grew up in Colorado and my dad grew up in Washington State. So there's this mix of nature and hills, and a lot of people hike there, right? So even just the fashion of people wearing Patagonia and Merrell's hiking boots, things like that, that essence gave me a sense of the States and at home of just this very we prioritize nature and hiking and things like that. So that was really cool that I noticed in the city. And also, I mean, just like Washington as well, the rain, but it was so beautiful, right? I think Scotland weather, it got cloudy, but it also cleared up. It was sunny majority of the time there. So it was really fun. And then, but on top of all that, because besides just the nature and it just being very beautiful and, close to the water, it had these buildings that were so old and looked gothic as fuck. And I was obsessed. I love the city so much. It's so cool. The fact that it's so old and centuries of history, I just couldn't get over it. And it's Edinburgh is just absolutely stairs everywhere. It is so, my calves were dying when it was okay, just walk a mile. No, dude, everything is uphill. The alleyways are all curved and up, and the cobblestones, it was not meant really for foot traffic. It's just meant for horse and carriage shit. So definitely out of breath a lot with just the hills, but that's okay. It adds the charm. Absolutely stunning. And I was there in Edinburgh for the Fringe Festival, and I can put in the show notes the website of what that even means. But basically, Fringe, which is kind of off the beaten path, that means that this festival is international. People all over the world are performers and entertainers. And so it's this month-long festival where every single day there's literally hundreds of shows going on. There's street performers at the Royal Mile, Victoria Street, all over city center. So you're constantly seeing performers, and you're also seeing people hand out flyers like it's no one's business. See this show, and some stuff is free, some stuff you do have to pay for. Some things were like in a small little room, you know, in some random fucking place. So there were beer gardens there, and then some places were like, you know, more established, like at the convention center or like at some like really nice theater or something like that. So from anywhere to dancing, singing, acting, comedy shows, like it was so cool. And because Fringe is well known and it's people all over the world, Edinburgh was very busy. It was absolute energy, hustle and bustle of the city, which I heard in general, Edinburgh is actually pretty quiet. So it can't really contain that many people, but I'm actually just really grateful I got a chance to witness it. And I got to go and I attended some shows as well. Some were free, some were not. So it was really a great experience. I highly encourage you to check out Fringe because it's just honoring the arts. And my actually past is in the performing arts. I am a dancer, I am a singer, I am an actress. It has been a long time since I've been on stage in that way, in that capacity of performing. I love it and miss it so much. So it was really nice to just like be immersed in it and respect that culture. So highly recommend you check out Fringe. So what I saw was some comedy shows. And what's really cool is, I mean, there's some shows that like you probably need to book in advance, but for the most part, you walk around and you see what catches your eye, or you know, you're given a flyer and you don't really know what show you're gonna see, but that's kind of the beauty of it. So the very first show I saw was called Fuckboy Fairy Tales, and it was a woman doing like a monologue basically for like 45 minutes, and there was only like 10 people, 15 people there, and it was in a very small little room. But you know, she was doing the show pretty much all month, and it was really cool. So like it was stuff like that where it's little hidden gems. And then I saw another comedy act, and it was all of these women they're all over the world, and that was really cool. So I'm like really like supporting these female comedians here, and it kind of like sparked my interest of like, what would that be like if I was a comedian? And I even got approached by one, was like, are you a comedian? And I'm like, in real life I am, not professionally. Yeah, and then I also saw this really cool show at this theater, and it was called like, oh my gosh, it was okay, well, I can't remember what it was called at this very exact moment, but it was they played out Romeo and Juliet, but they were entirely, like, they were completely fucked up. So they were drinking on stage, and it was just so funny. It was such a good time. It was called Shitface Shakespeare. Look that up as well. It was really funny. And they do, you know, different Shakespeare performances, but Romeo and Juliet, obviously classic. And so I just wish I had something like that when I did theater, is like, because they were like improvising and stuff, and I was like, oh man, what a great opportunity to just like memorize your lines but also kind of improv at the same time. It was awesome. I loved it. So, and there were definitely more shows. I mean, I obviously saw like live performances and stuff like that, but like there's so much with Fringe. Like but it kind of got overwhelming at a point where I was like, I'm kind of burnt out of shows right now. Like I kind of just want to chill. And so what I did is I went ahead and I explored the city, and it was so much fun because there were like above ground cemeteries. There were hikes that I went on. So the main hike that I did was called Arthur's Seat. And the hike itself didn't take that long, but it was, you know, straight uphill, but it was a beautiful view of the city, and you can see the ocean, and it was really empowering because
on the way up the hike was really sunny and beautiful. And then on the way down, it started to rain, but it's all right, perfect timing. And then within the same token, I kind of like fucked up my foot. I didn't twist my ankle necessarily, but I definitely injured it. But I was like, no, it's fine. Like, I just kept walking. And so I walked for like 2 more hours on it. And then when I got to my place, when I got home, it just like, I couldn't walk. And I was like, oh fuck, I'm in trouble. Like, how am I supposed to how am I supposed to live my life if I can't walk? So that was like a huge like wake up call of like, Paige, you really need to take care of your body. Like, that was like a fluke accident, let's be honest, but still, like, it really set the tone for me to pay more attention, because as I'm traveling abroad, I'm all I have. I don't have, like a travel buddy with me to do things, to take the load off. Like, it's just me on my own. So if I can't do something, I need to figure it out. I gave it a few days and my foot's back to normal, so don't worry about it. But I was kind of fucking freaking out. I was like, oh shit, my foot is fucked up. But we're good. I don't know what happened. I just massaged it. I took some pain meds. I mean, I didn't see the doctor, but luckily it kind of like went away on its own. So, but it just was like a lesson of like, when it's one of those things, like when you get injured, obviously that's when you like really contemplate your life, because you're like, oh no, I wish things were back to normal. So kind of that lesson I learned even in that hike was like, take care of your body, take care of yourself, because you're all you have. And in order to do the things that you love, you really need to like slow down and be very intentional with every single step, quite fucking literally. The last thing I'll share on this episode, and then I'm going to make a part 2 of my Edinburgh adventures. But another thing I wanted to share was this lesson that I learned pretty much throughout Scotland of how can I add more discernment in my life? And what I mean by that is, what are the ways that I'm actually choosing what I decide to do, who I decide to meet, where to eat, where I'm gonna stay next? I think being really picky with my time and energy has been really important, because there's always going to be, especially with Fringe, right? Like, that was a great example, that you have so many choices, you have so many shows, you have so many options of how to spend your time. But the thing is if I went to a show every fucking day, I would never get my work done. I would never sleep. Like, and that's not healthy, right? So it's like, what is the balance when I am picking what I wish to do with my life? And this is, this question of discernment doesn't have to just apply to travel. This applies to you right now, not traveling, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. It's, how can you pick based on your values? How can you choose the things in your life that are really aligned? And like, what does that feel like? Because for me, if I do things out of my mind that I think I have to or shoulds, any of that language, it's fucking bullshit. So I really challenge you not to have judgment necessarily, but you're not judging things, but it's discerning. It's a really hard yes or no of, yes, like, I want to do this with my time. Yes, I want to see this person. Yes, I want to order this thing because it's going to nourish my body. Whatever it is, it's just like, how can you add more discernment in your day-to-day? And knowing that's for your greater good, it's for your higher self. And yeah, I think Scotland like really helped me with that, and to like take my time and be very selective for the things that I welcome into my life. I will catch you in the next episode, because there's definitely some more stories of the things I've seen and done in Scotland.